And we're back, to quote another YouTube machinist, Stan. So I dug through all of my dies and stuff. I was able to dig out of my Sears Craftsman. I've already got the die stock. It's an 1/8 inch pipe. So we are going to go ahead and, just so you know, a lot of people don't realize on dies in general, they actually have a, or if you look at them, the good ones are marked like this. If you'll see it, it says start this side, because essentially it, you know, you got to feed it in, and the final thread cut is here. So because it is a pipe thread, 8 by 27 thread per inch, which my lathe does not cut 27 thread per inch, that I'll remember this now. I know my lathe does not cut 27 thread per inch. So it's not like we do it a lot of time anyway, and typically you only need, the threads need to be just the length of a die, literally. So we're going to attempt on camera, yes, on camera. So if I fail, you'll see it. So what we're going to try to do is obviously thread a little bit longer than intended. You would normally thread with one of these in brass. If it breaks, hey, you know what? We'll try it again. No, we're going to have to attempt to do it this way. We want to make sure we're not pulling off too much off the diameter with the pipe threading die. Now, I left it kind of large because I wanted a single point down, and doing that allows me to work threads down to the size. That's how I single point stuff, okay? And you work the thread peaks down. If you try to pull too much with a die, you can break things, the die or the brass, because it's really soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remeasure. We're going to see, we may go back and just take a little off with the file, because we don't want to try to pull way too much and then end up breaking the brass or our die. I don't think we'll break the die. Chances are we'll just strip, and if you're pulling too much, it'll just strip. And 27 thread per inch threads are really shallow. Look it up in your machinist's manual. They're not very deep. So we're going to take a quick look here. I'll show the camera down and show you what we got going on here. This whole, you know, all that is. So we are 401 thou right there. 402 6/10 up here. We're way down. So we need to actually bring this down to under. Yeah, these threads aren't very deep. So 397 is, yeah, 397 or 398 even. So that's too much to try to pull off with a die. We would end up like pulling and stripping, and we don't want to do that. So we definitely got to come in here and pull off. So 398, and we'll say on the large end 40, we'll just call it 403 because it's 6/10, a little large. So we're just going to work this down with a file. Need to spin it faster. Just go straight over into high gear. You can get undersized really quick. I don't know how much I can overstress that. It doesn't take much. Especially if you have a sharp file, you can get under really quick. So there's 397 right there. And if I go 398, we're still a little, from about halfway back, we got to take off a little more. you really want to challenge yourself, build something entirely out of brass. You will learn really quick the little tricks to, so see, yeah, we're right there. So 397, 398, and that's the major diameter. 400 right at the back. So yes, if you want to challenge yourself at really learning your machine, especially if you have a mini mill or a mini lathe, you can take off so much brass real quick before you even blink twice, and you realize you undersize your parts. So take a little, measure, take a little, measure, and that way you really learn the backlash in your machine, or even using the file, how much do I take off, you know. So we've got that down to where we're not going to have to try to remove as much with our thread die. So at this point I feel comfortable to go ahead and attempt. Now the trick about a thread die is you need to be able to start it straight. You need to be able to start it straight. So one thing I've done in the past, because this is not a round die, it's a hexagonal one. The round ones I've showed you the tailstock tool before, and it holds it in it, and it fits into the, I can fit it either into here or the Morse taper. So what I do is we're just going to hold this up here. We're going to bring our, and just so we're starting to get this, so you know, on the back of this, I'm pushing against that plate so we're even. Okay. It should pretty much center itself. Come over here. Whoop. Make sure we're not. There we go. Alright. So what we're going to do is this is where it's, and I'm going to go low speed. There we go. Alright, low speed, 70 RPM. Now on stuff like this, where we do not want to go fast, this is where I like using the bump button. Now there's a switch here. People ask me on these lathes. There's a little green button here. Okay, that's the bump button. As long as you hold that in, it'll spin in the counterclockwise direction, okay? Or the normal turning direction. No, there's no reverse to it. I suppose if you wanted to put one in, you could, but it's just there's many uses to it. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be sitting here bumping, and we feel that we're pretty well centered. It feels like it is. We're going to apply a little pressure from the tailstock here, and we're just going to cross your fingers, guys and gals. Here we go. And I'm going to, at the same time, with my right hand, I'm going to go ahead and feed from the back. You guys can see here, just so we can keep an even pressure. And I've got the chuck opened up wide enough so it will slide. This will actually go in through there. We're not going to hit the jaws. You got to be aware of that too. Now, one thing I have learned in the past, keep the chips cleaned out. Do a little stop and blow air. You don't want to put oil in there on brass. I'm sure if you're new and learning about, because if you do on the brass, it will gum up and it will strip them out. The reason I know this, I've done it and made the mistake. The brass is really, really soft. It's not going to harm your die. So you don't want anything that's going, there's no sense in lubricating it because it's a very, very soft metal. You want the chips to fall out. You don't want them to build up inside there. So here we go, a little more. And I'm comfortable that it is already started. So I'm going to go ahead and back this off out of the way. You can see I had it really open. Okay. So now I'm comfortable enough I can see up in here. I'll keep my air hose ready. I'll try not to bump the tripod, which I am, sorry. Go ahead and blow out. Hopefully this works. And I'm threading right up against the shoulder. One more little. Okay, we're there. So now, the only way to go backwards, first, make sure that's out, is to very gently and quickly in reverse. And you still need to make sure you, because I can see the brass in a couple of spots where it hasn't peeled off yet. Alright, I was really worried about brass building up in here, and that's why I have learned, and you guys, I know I repeat myself, but this is lessons I've learned. So if you're new to machining and you're working in brass, get it down to the dimension you want, no matter what size you're tapping it or threading it or whatever. Fine threads, keeping those chips out, blow, turn, like just how I did it, because I have messed up many a time, and it doesn't take anything for a chip to build up there, and next thing you know, your tool doesn't move and the material is, and you're just pulling all the threads off. So I know trying to run a die, probably not longer than that, may not work as well, because they're only meant to make threads basically, you know, 400 thou long or so. So it worked. Whew. Okay. Now the test, which I know I'm going to go in there and we're going to put in high gear. We'll pull this out of the way. I will set that there, and we're going to lightly, matter of fact, let me grab my fine or the smooth mill, lightly to the tops of the threads. Doesn't take much. We'll dress them. Hopefully you guys have been able to see a lot of this, and like I said, the reason I'm doing this is I know you guys have seen a lot of threading and stuff before, but if you're cruising the internet and you find this video, and you know, I know this video goes out to guys that have been doing it forever, or you're just getting into the hobby, and that's why I spend a lot of time explaining, because these are areas where I have messed up, and if I can explain it to you to where you will not make those same mistakes, then I'm glad. Really light. I'm just resting it on there. I was just resting it on there. If you press down, it'll pull those off in a heartbeat and you're messed up. Okay, now the acid test per se. Now that I keep bumping the camera. So, even though I know that this is not fully threaded completely all the way, here's our little piece that we made earlier. Make sure all the graphite's out. And I had, before I removed all that stuff, just to reiterate, I had taken a pipe tap and put in here and actually created, I cleaned them out and created threads that's deeper. So let's go ahead and thread this on. If we have to, at this point, before we created this, if we want to make this a little longer, we can still go in here, turn this down a little bit, and feed our die on and see if we can get a little more length. I think this will be long enough. Let's go ahead, just make sure you don't cross thread it, and it really wants to cross thread if you're not careful. Oh, it's going on real smooth. Okay, and yes, it's loose, but you got to understand, we're missing areas of thread. This was actually mushroomed. So the objective was to get, oh yeah, okay, so the objective was to make this area reach back past right here, and it does. It goes to right about here. So with that, we're good. We are good, we are good, we are good. Outstanding. So I am very happy. You know, it's one of those pucker moments like, wait a minute. There we go. Make sure we don't mess the threads up. Now I know on the back side of this I'll be able to single point it. And I looked for the die while I was at it to see if I have a 1/2 inch 24 thread per inch, and I don't. So guess what? We're going to be single pointing it on the back, which is fine. That's okay. That's cool. So success, we're good. That step is done. Like I say, live and unedited. Now I'm satisfied that that has enough of an angle and a shoulder and taper. I'm not going to mess with that. That's good. Everything looks fine there. What we need to do next is create the back portion here. So what I'm going to do at this point, I know I don't need to make these threads longer. We have went through. How deep is our threads? Will it fit? Nope. Let's use the drill bit we used and see how far. More than far enough. Okay. So what we're going to do is come in here and we're going to, I love my little scribe. This is a Brown & Sharp scribe. And I'll make a scribe with it right there. Kind of hard to see. Matter of fact, so that we can see our scribe line, we'll come in here with Sharpie. And having bright light in the shop is kind of it's a double-edged sword. It's great, but it's also a hindrance at times because it hides things. So we're just going to come in here and create. Okay, I can see that. Come in here and get our parting tool. We'll part it off, turn everything around, and all that good stuff. And I need to get my little rod that I always have here handy for catching items that I part off. Will that fit in there? No, it will not. Well, I don't want to put the bit in there and accidentally have it grab it and tear something up. I've made that mistake before, and it is not fun. Okay. This will work. I just want to be able to hold this. We'll just use this little, this is actually the little wrench for the Dremel. Just slide it in there to hold it. Okay. High speed. Chamfer. Just so we don't cut ourselves. Alright. And we're good. Hello. It's nice and warm too. Now, how much time we got left? 10 minutes. That is enough time to change out collets. Alright. See, if you have good smooth working collets, you can take your wrench and spin it like this. pull your collet out. And the other one is right here. We're going to go down to a 3/8, which is going to be a very tight fit somewhat, but that'll hold that. Go ahead and slide this in here. Get it started. This is where a 5C collet comes into its own, doing stuff like this. Very, very, very handy. And now we want our little rubber mallet here. We're going to tap this in very carefully. There we go. Had our collet in too far. All the way up to the shoulder. Okay. Yeah, I had my collet in too far and it wasn't spreading. And we'll go back and chase the threads. All that good stuff. You don't want to get overzealous and over crank on things. I know that is not turning as straight as I want it. There is... Let's do it again. Because we were bumping that one little piece, so it makes it a little difficult. There we go. Had that little piece that was not allowing it to come up against the shoulder. Kind of do it like you don't want to. You can really crank down on that handle, and if you do, you'll crush things. You don't want to, but we're going to be doing light cuts, so I'm confident that's light enough to do whatever cutting I need to do in the brass. And we'll go ahead and spin it. Go ahead and face this off here. Alright. Let's see. Next is going to be the next diameter for single pointing is going to be now this thread on this side, this 1/2 inch by 24, it is not a tapered thread, it's actually straight. So we're going to go down to 1/2 inch, and we are currently $566 thou, so we got 66 thou to take off. Call that 0. Dial in 10, and we are only going to go over approximately, let's see, we'll call that 0. Threads only have to be a little bit longer. Okay. I do it simple. Alright. That'll work. When in doubt, just hold it up there and give it a good eyeball measurement. That's how I do a lot of stuff. It goes quicker that way. We are $4.98. See? I didn't plan on going down that far that quick, but we're $4.98, which is fine because that is $4.98. So we're $4.98 and a couple of half tenths. Yeah. $497, depending on where you rotate it at, $4.98. So got busy talking and almost messed up. So that's good. We're done with that. Take this out. Now we got to come in here with our 5/16 on the back side. And get the rest. Trying to get this done in this video here. We won't get the single point threading done, but by God, we'll get this far. Now, the depth on this here only needs to be we're about 3/8. How deep is this? Right at 3/8. Actually a little. Now, 3/8 for that shoulder ferrule, and that is right at, boy, there you go. Sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good. So there we go. Now we got to go in and create a chamfer real quick with our chamfer tool. So there we go. I'll give you guys a glance of it in the next video. So there we go. We're able to achieve our threading with the die stock. Generally this goes a lot faster when you're not having to talk and make a video, but I know you guys like seeing this stuff. So in the next video we'll go ahead and show you the completion of the single point threading, and we're going to thread it 24 threads per inch. And we are recreating this little brass, with the exception of we've made this longer, and I showed you in the video as to why. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this has been beneficial to those out there watching. Click the like button down at the bottom. You guys spread the word about my channel. Thank you all to I've had a lot of new YouTube subscribers lately, and guys, I appreciate it. Spread the word. Lots of stuff to watch in the channel. Thumb back through it. Take care of yourself and take care of family, because remember, at the end of the day, you and your family is all you got. Until next time, get out in the shop and play with some brass and make some chips. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.